Hello and welcome to my shop. My name is Tracy Maxfield and this is Hammer Down Woodworking. Hope the new year is finding you well. This is my first video of this year, 2025, and I thought we'd start that off with a shop tour. It has been a while since I've done a shop tour, and I have made several updates to the shop since the last video, like this mitersaw station. And besides, everybody likes to peek, or I know at least I do, like to peek inside other shops. It gives you inspiration and ideas and stuff to do things in your own shop. And I hope this video does that, exactly that for you. So let's take a look around. All right, since we're here in this corner, we'll just go ahead and start right here. First, let me tell you about this building. It is actually a metal building, and it is 30 by 40. 30 feet wide and 40 foot long. So I have 1,200 square feet in here to work with. I feel very, very blessed to have a building this size. I did not always have a building of this size. At one time, I was in a 2-car garage using 1 car worth of space of it, half of it. So I feel like it opened up, and the longer that I've had this shop, the more stuff, which you'll see, the more stuff that I have put into it, and the footprint of everything is growing and growing and growing. But I still have plenty of room, as you'll see here in just a minute, plenty of room to work around everything in here. And it's set up right now probably as best as it's going to get for my workflow. Now, you may see something when we get to going around the shop. You may see something that you'd think, well, I would do that. Put that in the comment down below, because it may be something that I want to use. It may be something that someone else might want to use. So put those in the comments down there if you see anything that you would do differently in your shop. But for me, for right now, this works pretty good. But anyway, we'll start right here in this corner. I do have a vacuum with a dust deputy on top of a 55-gallon drum. That gives me vacuum, and it's all remote control, so I'm not having to reach over in the corner and hit the switch on the vacuum cleaner. But it does give me vacuum here at this table, and it reaches a pretty good arm's length out into this floor, so I can clean up if I'm using a router or something at this workbench, and dust and chips are being thrown everywhere. I can reach those. Behind me I have my tool wall, and I did a video on putting this top down, putting these boards on the back, making this chisel rack, and making these shelves for these planes. Now, I don't have an excessive amount of planes, but to be honest with you, what I have is all I have ever needed. If there's something that I need to do a job with, I will get it at that time. That would be something I would recommend to you too, is buy those tools as you need them. If you don't need them, put your money in something else, because over time you will collect those tools anyway. This chisel rack holds all the chisels that I need, and if you watch that video, I'll put a link in the description. But there's magnets in behind this that holds, and these drawers are not drawers that you pull out. They're not on slides or anything. They have rasp and files and stuff of that nature in them, and I can just pull it out and set it on the workbench here with me where I'm working, get what I need, and then when I'm done, I can put them back. And there's actually 2 of them that has rasp, and just first one thing another in. Now, the planes I have, this Wood River 5.5 and this Wood River block plane are probably used more than any other plane. I do have a small router plane, 3/8 of an inch wide blade, and that one so far has serviced every need that I've had. If I need one narrower than that, I will buy it at that time. I have a shoulder plane up here that's 1 inch wide. They do make them narrower, and if I get to needing one that is narrower, I will buy it at that time. But so far, in several years of working, doing woodworking, that plane has sufficed for my needs. I do have storage, and under the bottom of this, of course, I got my drills and my chargers up here on the wall. These containers here have my most used hardware in it. And I have sharpening stuff over here in the corner. I have the work sharp, and I will sharpen chisels and most plane blades, but now some of plane blades will not fit into that, like this Wood River, it won't. That number 7 there, it won't. But the majority of them will fit in it, and you can set the angle on it. My chisel blades, most definitely, but I have more sharpening stuff in one of the drawers over here that I sharpen those wider blades with. And most of my plane blades, I sharpen by hand anyway. I don't even use that. I do have an old Chicago Electric sharpener over here. I do use that. All my blades for my table saws, my miter saw, things of that nature, I sharpen them on that, and it does a very, very good job. And it was actually kind of I don't even remember what that thing cost. I got that years ago, and it's still going, but it's a cheaper tool, but it does what it's supposed to do. The bench, this bench is about 7 foot long, and I think 31 inches wide. Now, I did fill the dog hose in the top of this bench, and the reason why I done that, they were not your normal everyday dog hose like you would use for holding material down or anything of that nature. They were actually used back in the day before I acquired enough clamps that I no longer need this. Still don't have as many clamps as I need. As the old saying goes, you never have enough. But before I had the clamps that I have now, I used to clamp stuff on top of this. And I had a block of wood with a dowel on it that would fit into these holes, and you could set 4 of them on here and drive wedges in between them and pull stuff in and clamp it in that manner. And I've done that a lot. And I've never, since I've acquired a few clamps, I never have used those anymore. And dust was going through those. I put drawers in the bottom of this. There's a video on that also. Dust and chips and screws or whatever I was working with up here was going through those holes and filling that top drawer up. Well, since I don't use them, I just put dowels in it and glued those, cut them off flush, and just stopped all those holes up. Now I did put some 3/4 inch holes in my bench, 4 of them, and so far that has sufficed for holding stuff down. I can use a hold fast in these holes here. Now these holes that's up through here, these rectangle shaped holes, I can put a block in that. I can pull this bench vise out, put the dog against it, and strap or clamp a board down to plane on or to chisel or whatever I need to do. I do have that capability on here, and I use that a lot. Almost every project that I do, there is hand tools incorporated in it somehow or another. If it's just fine tuning a board or trimming down edge banding or something, they flush trimming something, there's always hand tools almost 99.9% of the time incorporated into. Even though I've got a shop full of power tools, those hand tools, they're priceless. And also on each end of this bench, there's a board that I can flip out, just a little stop, and I can pull this out for planing longer items. I can set an end down on each one of those, or I can just set an end down here and clamp here and hold that, and I can plane or do whatever I need to do to longboards. And I have a little magnet on the back of those to hold those out of the way. Now this bench does have a router table in the end of this. I've shown this before. It has a chamfer bit in it, and that chamfer bit has been in there for I don't know how long, several years. And I use it, the reason why it's never changed, I've never needed to change it. I have another router table I'll show you in a few minutes back here, but this one I'll use for like table legs, or if I'm just needing to add a quick chamfer or something. And I've never had to change that bit. Well, I have changed that bit, but it's been years since I have had to change that bit. So that router table, it's down out of the way. The bit can be lowered down out of the way, and when I need it, I can use it. Let's move on. Now, right in front of the workbench, down this wall, I have my joiner, and then I've got my planers, my Dewalt, my 735 and my 734. Right behind it, I have my Rikon bandsaw, and we'll go down through there taking look at this stuff. And then there's a sanding machine, a Ryobi sanding machine. But then there is my router table, and then my dust collection system. That is all along this wall, and everything on this wall is piped to that dust collection. The only thing other than these items down through here that is connected to it is overhead, coming out of that same trunk line, is a dust collection line that runs over to one of the table saws. You can see, and you can see where it comes down right here, and then there's a soft line that goes over to that table saw. But on this dust collection, this trunk line, I have homemade blast gates. I've also done a video on making those. That's a 3-inch trunk line made out of PVC, and it could actually stand to be a little bigger to get the volume that I need. But for my setup, the way I've got it right now, and no longer than what it's been pulled, I think there's maybe 20 feet roughly of pipe down through here, not counting this that goes overhead and back down to the table saw. But if I'm running the joiner, I can run 2 machines at one time. If I'm running the bandsaw, I can run two machines at one time, or the table saw, bandsaw in combination each other, or the router table. The only thing that I really need to only run one on that dust collection at one time is when I'm running planers. If I'm running the planers, then I need to run just a planer. And I'm never using both of those at one time. I use one or the other, and they are hooked straight into that line also. Now the joiner, it's a G0858 8-inch joiner. That has been a game changer from the previous joiner that I had. It was a 6-inch bench top, and you can joint boards that are 8 and 9 feet long on this one right here with absolutely no problems at all. And it's easy to square up. The fence on it and everything. Adjustments on the fence in and out to close your gap and not just wear out your blades. It does have a helical head on it too, but the fence and everything is just so smooth on that. It's a really good, for me anyway. This one right here has been a good one to me. Now right here I have the 735 and the 734 bench tops. These have been good. I do wish that just as soon as funds will permit it, I do wish to put a helical head in that one. And this right here is my old beater, and that one has really been a good one. I mean, I have never had any issues out of this. I've changed the blades in it I don't know how many times throughout its life, but you know, it works good and does a real good job. Now right in front of those, and the workbench is right behind you right now, but I have my my lathe and my spindle sander. Now all this stuff is on wheels. Most everything is in here is on wheels. It can be moved to wherever I need to. This I can hook up to that vacuum system that I was telling you about that sits over in the corner, and just pull it right over here and plug it in and use it. The lathe, I don't have any dust collection or anything on that, but it is on wheels. I can just move it completely out of the way if I need this spot. And there's probably roughly around, I don't know, I'm going to guess probably about 8 to 10 feet between this joiner and the end of my workbench. I have assembled in this area right here a full queen size bed, so there's plenty of room. I mean, I just, the stuff's on wheels. I just roll it out as I need to. Right behind the planers is my Rikon bandsaw, and it is plumbed into this trunk line, this dust collection line. Here back here is all this stuff right here is, and this, the planers are on wheels. I can roll them that way, roll them that way, whatever I need to do. And this I can spin in any direction that I want to spin it in that I need to. More often than not, this is about 4 feet from the wall. So more often than not, anything I'm cutting on it it's going to work right there as it sets. Now here's my, of course, there's this little sander back here that is used almost never, but is occasionally used. Now this is my router table, and of course I've those 2 doors on the bottom. There's probably 6 or 7 more routers down there, but I have a Bosch router in this, and I've got a 1/2 inch acrylic plate in this. Now I do have to open up that door and raise it up and down in there, and I do have to shove the fence back off of it to be able to change the bit. But now this fence is completely adjustable. It slides forward and back from the bit. The fence itself will adjust in and out to open and close this clearance around the blade. I have a switch up here to turn it off and on with. There is dust collection hooked to the back of this fence, which works real well, except for when you're feeding the board across it, you're just cutting a groove or a dado in it. I do have T-track in the fence and in the tabletop for feather boards and things of that nature. But this right here, I made this this cabinet. I don't even remember now how long ago it's been. It's been quite a few years. And that table, that router table has worked very good for me so far, and I don't see any. If I was going to do any update on it, I would make the update to where I could raise it up and down from the top with maybe an adjustment, something like that. Put a lift on it, but other than that, it's fine, and it don't bother me that I have to reach in that door and raise it up and down. It does have an adjustment on it. Now back here is my my dust collection, and I've got a 55-gallon drum hooked in line with this trunk line that comes down through here to it, and then it's soft line over into that. And it does have the bags on it that you have to take off and empty, but that's only if you let this one right here start to overflow. When I look back here when I'm doing something, and I look back here and it's snowing inside that, for lack of a better term, if it's snowing in those bags, then this barrel needs emptying. That's how I know when to empty it. And I have a couple of spare barrels in here that I can just pull that out, dump it into one of those, and put it right back under and go right back to work. Now back here in this corner, I have a 6 horsepower, 60-gallon air compressor, which I've got three air compressors in this shop. This one I only use if I'm using spray guns or pneumatic tools, or just needing an excessive amount of air. Then I'll use this one because it just takes so long to charge up a 60-gallon container versus a 3 or 5 or 10 or whatever that other one is. But this one right here is hardwired right in. The lines there, I can just pull it out, clean outside the shop, whatever I need to do. Now this blue cabinet back here, this has stuff like zip ties, extra sandpaper, some hardware, soldering and electrical stuff. It just, I call it the store. It's got a little bit of everything just thrown in that. Of course, this stuff up here on top, some of it's empty boxes. There's a couple of paint spray guns. And of course, on the back side of that, besides some odds and ends stuff, I have my toolbox, wrenches, pliers, screwdrivers, all that stuff is right there. Then a refrigerator right next to it will cover anything else that's over there when we get over there. But a refrigerator to keep, I don't have water plumbed into this shop. And in summertime when it gets hot, you're out here working, you need something to drink. It's right there. I got sawhorses set up right here and that's usually lumber is brought in through that door and sticker stacked. Right here's the sticks, the sticker stacked. Uh, it, Lumber will be sticker stacked on top of those sawhorses and allowed to sit there for like 7 to 10 days or however long it takes for it to acclimate and balance out in moisture before working it. So that's what those is used for. The lumber that's on it now has been in this shop for pretty good while. It's not needing to be stacked up on sticks or anything like that. Here's my extra barrels for my sawdust. When I emptied those barrels, when these get full, I'll go right out that door with them on the truck, and that stuff is scattered out in the woods back here. Now this right here has been an upgrade to the shop. This is a Jet 1632 drum sander. I have used this a lot. When I made this miter saw station, I done a lot of veneer walnut to go on the edges of all these melamine panels and stuff, because that stuff is sharp and it will cut you. Plus it looks better. We'll show you that in just a few seconds. But I've done a lot of that on this, and this right here is a game changer. I cannot tell you how much of a blessing it is to have a drum sander. If you can ever fit that in your budget, that is a highly recommend. I mean, this right here is, like I say, it's a game changer. Cutting boards, noodle boards, pretty much anything that you want to make your panels. If you have any unevenness in between the boards, each board where the glue up seam is at, this will bring you down flat and it'll bring you down precise. Now, right next to the drum sander, I have 2 table saws sitting here, and I have 1 table saw back here. Now, this one is a Powermatic cabinet saw, 3 horsepower. It's an old model 66, and I had to make a splitter for it because it didn't. One of the people that I bought it off of at an estate sale got a pretty good deal on it, but they didn't have a riving knife with it or a splitter of any sort. So I had to buy that, tune it up, clean it up, had a little surface rust on top of it and everything. Now I do all my rips and breaking down, and even plywood and stuff. The only blade that I have to change out on this one is to go from a combination blade or a rip blade down to I forget how many teeth it's got, but it's a handling and plywood blade. It don't even say how many teeth it's got on it, but I would say somewhere in the neighborhood of 90 something, 90 something teeth. And that's the only time that I change blades on that, and if I'm sharpening or just changing out to that blade for sheet goods. This saw right here is dedicated to nothing but dados. That is all that it is ever used for. The fence is actually laying on the bottom of that rack under that drum sander, and there's the miter gauge for it. But this one it does nothing but dados, and this saw here does all the cross cutting. The radial arm saw and the miter saw, I just use just to break stuff down to an approximate length. If I'm needing a board 30 inches long, I'll cut it at like 35 to 36 inches to give me some for any snipe or anything else, splits or whatever. I give myself that little bit of leeway there. But when I go to cut down to my final length, that is done here with a cross-cut blade in it. And I do all my precision 90s, 45s, 22 and a half, any angles I need to cut. That is all done on this saw right here. And that is a Delta contractor saw. This one is a Craftsman contractor saw. And this one is a Powermatic cabinet saw. I did make this cabinet and under this. The drawers are dovetailed. It's all made out of some poplar, which is some extra poplar that I had. The top, the sides, all the panels, everything, except for the bottom. The bottoms of the drawers are made out of 1/4-inch plywood. And this drawer I keep feather boards, a brush to brush the top of the table off, tape measure too, and some push sticks. This one has throat plates in it, and this one right here has all saw blades in it. And then these 3 drawers is basically camera stuff. All right, back here in this corner, which, like I said, all this stuff is on wheels. I have a drill press, a fan. That fan is invaluable when you go to clean up in here. I'll raise this door, point that fan out, turn it on high, and come in here with a leaf blower, just blowing everything off, letting it carry the dust right outside. And but I have a mobile cart back here that has a couple of steel vices on it and a bench grinder. And under it, what you can't see, I'll show you here just a second. But I've got a mobile, it's probably a 8, 10, maybe 12-gallon tank, air compressor with a 2-horsepower motor. That one blows up tires and things of that nature. And plus, I have a welder and a plasma cutter on this cart right here. And that plasma cutter, you have to run air to it. And if it's just a small job, I'll hook that one up to that and use that to do any cutting. If I need a lot of air, then I'll go turn that 60-gallon on. I have a horizontal bandsaw right here. That is mobile. And of course, back here in this corner is just cut off sheet goods and stuff that I'll use for templates and things of that nature. Right next to that, and this is on a cart also. It's on a platform with wheels, but I have my floor standing drill press, and this is movable. I can use it for if I'm needing it back here, or I can actually do drilling in wood items right here on this. This table saw here, I forgot to tell you, but this Delta table saw is actually hooked up on a 6-gallon shop vac, and this shop vac also unplugs and can be used at the drill press or be plugged in to this radial arm saw. And that's kind of, and I have a remote switch for it also. That kind of serves, this one's pulling double and triple duty. But this is my miter saw station. And I was going to record this build, but I ended up not. And the reason for that is that I had to have some surgery done, and it was on my face, and I needed to get this done, and I really didn't look. Of course, I don't look good for camera anyway, but that wasn't something that I really wanted to put on video. So I just built it, and then I thought, well, I'll show it to you. I've got cabinet storage down here, adjustable shelves, and then I have cabinet storage under here. And under each side, instead of wasting that space, I made drawers that I can put stuff to mark with, speed squares, any kind of square, measuring tape, things of that nature. So there's 2 drawers on one on each side. Now I incorporated that miter saw in it. That mobile clamp rack, or that mobile rack that I have back there, that I've put the 2 vices and the bench grinder on. That is the stand that this miter saw was on, or this radial arm saw rather. And I've built it into here, and this top panel right here is completely replaceable because I know I'm going to cut it up. It's got 2 screws in each end that holds this down, and it comes off all the way up to the fence. The fence actually will come out, and I can replace that piece if I need to also. But now the vacuum, the shop vac is hooked to that. That catches a lot of the dust, but what it don't catch goes over behind this, because this wall of this hood comes all the way out to the fence, and everything is just anything and everything is just sitting in behind that. And when I pull the vacuum off, I can just vacuum that out and clean that up. Now, it don't do much for the fine dust. Everybody knows that fine dust that comes out and just gets in your lungs, in your that you breathe. So is true for the miter saw station. But now I've done this one a little bit different. I have caught that fine dust. You can't hardly catch all the dust off of a miter saw station or off of a miter saw, because that there's nothing between here and there that will actually catch and gather it all up and send it into a vacuum line. There has been a few people that has been real successful with catching. I've been getting up to the 90s, in the 90s% of catching all that. This saw is so old that I don't know if that would ever be possible with this or not. I may experiment with that. That may be another video on down the road. But I have a Festool dust extractor piped in through a hole on the side of this that plugs right into that. That does catch a lot of my bigger dust. But now let me show you this. You see this hole right here and this switch and this. Now this is not a cabinet for storing, neither is this. There's a blower motor. Of course, you can't hardly see it, but there's a blower. Well, you probably can't see it right there, but I'll get you a picture of it. But there's a furnace blower motor in here that this hole is the exhaust on it. And under this drawer that is solid, there's a solid piece in that all the way across. So that compartment is sealed up. the blower motor is all the way out against the front of this. So the only place that it gets to get its intake air is through this filter. And when I turn that fan on, that blower motor on, it immediately drops all the air out of this cabinet, starts pulling air from this cabinet, which the only intake for this cabinet is a baffle. I have made a baffle that goes in the back of this, and I'll show you that. But it's 4 inches from front to back, and it is the width of this station, which is 24 inches. And the opening on the bottom of that is 4 inches by about 5.5 inches, just a square. And that is the only place that this fan can get its intake, is to start drawing down through that. I took a air quality meter, which I have sitting in the middle of the shop, and I set it over here. And without that on, I just made about 4 or 5 cuts, and then turned that fan on with a vacuum system going and made about 4 or 5 cuts with it. The difference in the air quality was cut in half. This is that baffle that I was talking about, and it gets narrower as you go down in there. It's wide up here, and it starts a draft. And you can see right there, just that bottom part is what's open. The whole walls is sealed up. It's just open right here, and that starts a pretty good draft. And this filter, of course, I'll have to blow dust out of it, which it's got a little bit in it right now, but it actually just slides that way, which drops it out and under this latch up here. It's just like that down there, it's a trough, and this side right here hangs over. It goes that way about 2 inches, and that frees it from that. Then the filter just leans over and comes out. I can blow it out. Then to put it back in, I set it in and slide it back forward. It's that simple to change or to clean. And here's an example of the amount of suction that I have. These are soft close hinges on those doors down there, same. But you see how slow that closes and how easily it opens. Now this is that fan motor, and that is really not that loud either. But watch this. As long as that door is shut and that's piping through here, you get a draft back here that pulls that fine dust down into that filter. So at least you're not breathing that. Now this dust extractor, this is the same one that I use on my my sander, my palm sander, and also use it on my track saw. And in order to get that off, which it's as easy as just pulling that right through there, and then I can just set that down here and hook it to my track saw or whatever I need to do. Now a lot of this stuff that is in these cabinets and drawers over here was piled up and under here, an excessive amount of it. And I'm down to a skill saw and a jump box and a 3-gallon air compressor under this end here now. And there's a video on this also. Now this one is a little bit louder than that other one, but the exhaust for the fan is right under here. Then the rest of that under there is a wall, and there's two 18 by 20 MERV 13 filters, 2 here, 2 over there, and 2 over there. Now, I do need to change these. I put the date on here. I bought these 12/9 of 22. They're a little over 2-year-old, and they still work, but they're not coming clean to the point of really drawing that air good now, if that makes sense. After you take them out and blow them out, you put them back, you don't have the draw like you did when they were, of course you won't like they did when they were new, but even a year ago. So I am going to have to change those. I'm going to have to get 6 new ones here. The filter that is under the mitersaw is actually a MERV 13 filter also, but it's a 20 by 20. You could turn that on and be sanding on the lathe, and you can see that dust being drawn down to it. It's just amazing. When I take these out and blow them out, it is actually amazing the amount of fine dust that I blow out of those outside this shop. So much that those are breathing that I don't have to. And on the back end of the shop, there's a video on it also. I built it. Another one that has carbon filters in it. There's one on each side, and the exhaust pipe's right out the end. That way it's making a draft down beside that thing to where it's pulling everything right by those filters as it starts its circle. And that one with those carbon filters, charcoal filters, they will actually pull the smell of paint out of the air. Let me show you that one. Now this is the exhaust on this one. And you can see there's these filters. Of course, when it's turned on, those draw up and seal. There's one on each side of it. And as it's piping the air this way, it starts dragging everything right across those filters. And it actually works pretty good. Now this one, like I said, will pull the scent of paint and stuff out of the air. I do need to change these filters. They're not working as good as they used to did. Between these two, between this one and that one, I can, when the numbers go up on the air quality meter, I can drop those numbers pretty quick by running both of these. This one is kind of loud. So you can hear how loud that one is. But now it does works good. I do need to be buying some filters. Now this is the air quality meter. Of course, I don't know, with that black background, I don't know how well that's going to show up on camera. But you have your, I think that's parts per million 2.5 and parts per million 10. You got your TVOC, which is your gases that's let off by freshly cut wood. And it tells you on the bottom of it the ranges of what your numbers for safe and acceptable and unhealthy and very unhealthy. But plus it's got your clock, your temperature, humidity, HCHO. Now I really don't know what that means, but it's got your CO2 levels too. and you can keep up with a lot of what's going on in the air in your shop with one of those. That one's a Air Night, and it seems to be a pretty good one. I mean, when I go to cut, I see those numbers elevated. If I've got the fans on, I'll see them stabilized and then see them go back down pretty quick. So, has a quick reference on it. It's a little smiley face. As your levels on anything go up, it starts walking over to a frown and then a mean face, and you know how that is. Of course, this is the roll-up doors back there, and there's a regular entry door right here. In this corner, I have, of course, a bunch of junk that's just got piled up. But I have my lumber storage for some of it up here. And then I have my hollow chisel mortiser, which is piled up because it is very, very seldom ever used. And then I've got an old metal gun cabinet that I keep all flammable materials in it, such as mineral spirits and denatured alcohol. All that, anything that is flammable goes in that container. Then right beside that is my mobile clamp rack. Now, this has clamps on both sides. It holds, I think right now it's got somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 plus clamps on it, between the C clamps, pipe clamps, parallel clamps, S-style clamps, and spring clamps. There's over 100 on this cart. It is mobile. It sits right here most of the time. This is where it's kind of found its nest, because I'll assemble at that table that is right in front of the table saw, and I can just reach and grab right off this and use them right there. Now, if I have put together beds on that other side, as I said earlier. If I'm needing clamps anywhere else in the shop, going to be needing one or two, I'll just come and get them. But if I'm needing multiple clamps, I can just roll this cart anywhere in the shop that I need clamps, and I've got them right there. It's so nice having stuff on wheels so that you can roll them around. And I don't know if I mentioned this a minute ago or not, but as you can see, I've got buckets at the end of the table saw there, and there's also some more over here. There's one or two, maybe two, I think one, over at the bandsaw. Any place that I'm going to have cutoffs, a lot of cutoffs, I've got these buckets sitting around to where whenever I cut it off and it's going to be a scrap piece, it's just going to go in the trash. They go into these buckets. And I usually try to keep plywoods, particle boards, wafer board, hardboard, anything that's got a lot of glue in it or chemicals in it goes into a bucket by itself, because I won't burn those in my fireplace or in a fire pit. But all my hardwoods and stuff go into buckets, and they get burnt in my fireplace. And I guess lastly, we're about to wrap this up, but this workbench right here, which is right beside where we started at, where the hand planes and the chisels and the workbench and all that is at, I have a small benchtop bandsaw right here. This thing is hardly ever used, but it has about a 4-inch cut on it with a 10-inch throat. And right beside it, I have a scroll saw, which has the blade broke in it right now. But I do have a scroll saw. I have a second benchtop drill press right here that comes in real handy. Do you need 2 drill presses and 2 band saws and 3 air compressors? No, you don't. But having it, to me, for the work that I do, if I have someone in here that I've hired or whatever to help me build something, it comes in handy when you're not having to set up and tear down. I mean, 3 table saws, and nobody normally have use for 3 table saws, but in my shop, for my workflow, to me, it's worth the footprint to have it than to not. Down and under this, I have glues and things of that nature, and stains and stuff in that one over there. Of course, fire extinguisher and the first aid kit, and I've got another first aid kit under here. And these cabinet doors that's down and under this, behind this workbench, there is electric hand power tools in here. So That's pretty much it that I can think of. I believe we've pretty well covered it all. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already, let me invite you to hit that subscribe button. And until next time, thanks for watching.